It's Carol Doherty. In this episode of Survival Strategies for Women in STEM, I want to talk about imposter syndrome and how does it show up for us, particularly for women in STEM. I mean, people can be plagued by this anywhere and any time, but it's really prevalent for women more so than men. And I think it really shows up a lot for women in STEM, and there's some reasons around that because if we're not feeling wanted or if we don't see role models and people above us who look like us, it's easier to feel like we don't belong. And I want to talk about how does it show up in my video that I posted Tuesday on my YouTube channel, caroldoherty.tube. I talk about what is imposter syndrome. But today I want to talk about how does it show up? What does it do? What does it look like? And how does it impact us at work? So first off, a quick blurb on what imposter syndrome is. It's often defined as an inability to realistically assess your competence and skills. And you attribute your success to external factors like, oh, I just got lucky, or it's no big deal. You berate your own performance and you question yourself. So it's really tough when you're dealing with this. So if this is what's going on, this is how it can show up. Now, the reality is we all have self-doubt. That's fair, that's normal. It's not even all that unexpected, right? We have doubts. I know I've had some, even some recently, and it's because I care. And it's what I'm doubting myself on is important to me, and I want to do well with it. So that little doubt is something that isn't a problem per se, because it makes me pay attention. But when you really start doubting yourself and you diminish what you do, that's when it's a problem. So people who are struggling with imposter syndrome often are afraid they're going to be discovered as a fraud. Well, I don't really belong in this role. And sooner or later, they're going to figure out I'm not the right person. And then what? I hear from some of my coaching clients, well, what if I fail? Okay. You make a mistake, you recover, you move on. But that fear of failing is one of the big indicators that it could be imposter syndrome, particularly if it keeps you from moving forward. So, things that you might be feeling if you're struggling with imposter syndrome. You believe that compliments and praise are because the person is being nice. Oh, they're just being nice to me. I didn't really earn that compliment. You know, honestly, in my experience, people are nice, but they're not that nice. They're not going to praise your performance, particularly at work. They're not going to praise your performance. They're not going to say what a great employee you are just to be nice. Okay? People will say, oh, hey, I really love your haircut, or I really love that outfit. That's being nice. Talking about your skills, your abilities, and what you've accomplished, people aren't going to be nice all the time. If you're hearing the same compliments, stop belittling those. Stop thinking those aren't real. You may also feel that you're unworthy of success. That, if you believe your success is all luck, being in the right place at the right time or whatever, then it's hard for you to believe that you deserve it, and you may not feel you should succeed. So you think you're unworthy. Again, you feel like it was a luck, not any great skill on your part, no talent involved. You may become anxious. And I've seen this lots of times where women I work with are anxious because it looks like they're afraid they're going to fail. They've been offered a promotion or an opportunity to apply for a higher level job, and they don't trust it. They think it's fake. They don't deserve it. And they ask, what if I fail? So they get real anxious and they will actually stop themselves from going forward. So some of the actions you'll start seeing people do is minimize positive feedback. Again, set downplaying the compliments. I've seen this a lot where women who are um, struggling with imposter syndrome will over prepare. Oh, I've got to go to this big meeting. There's all going to be all these big people. And they spend more time preparing than they need to because they're so concerned they're not going to be able to answer a question they're asked. And then people are going to think they don't deserve the role they're in. They don't know all the answers, then they failed. So they over prepared. And I've seen this often is where people stop trying to do something more because they're afraid they'll fail. They won't go for the promotion. They won't put their hat in the ring. They won't take on a big project. They won't do more because they're afraid of failing. In some specific ways it can show up as, so these are some of the things that can happen. Some more detail on that is they won't take on, some of the women I know won't take on more responsibility because they think if I do more, I'm barely holding on right now. I don't really deserve the job I'm in. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough experience. I can't do anything more. If I do more, then I'm going to screw up what I'm already doing. So they won't take on anything more. And as a result, they hold themselves back. And so what that can lead to is you're not happy where you are because you're not challenged. What you're doing, you do well. You don't maybe believe that you're doing it well, but you are doing it well, and you won't put in for that promotion. You won't say, well, you know what, that job looks really interesting. Let me go apply for that, because you're afraid you're going to fail if you do it. You don't feel confident in what you're doing, so you're afraid to take that next step. So you get dissatisfied because you're stuck where you are and you're not challenged, you're bored, and then it leads to burnout because you're always trying to get better. You're always trying to do more. You're trying to be better, but you're not challenging yourself to go to that next step. And it's real easy at that point to get burned out. Who wants that? So you may end up staying in a job you hate. I've been there. You stay in a job you hate because you don't think you're worthy or capable of something better. Well, I got this one through luck, so how can I get the next one? I didn't earn this one. How can I? So I'm not qualified for the next one. That's not true. But that's what happens. This is how it shows up. And so you don't seek that promotion. You undervalue yourself. You undervalue your skills and your abilities, your accomplishments. You downplay all of those. And there was a study done in 1978 where one academic, as part of the study, believed there must have been a mistake in the selection process when they received their appointment, because there was no way they could have deserved it. Does that sound familiar? I know there have been a couple of times when I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply for this job, but I don't know if I really deserve it. I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And that's that imposter syndrome. You're like, well, I'm going to fake it. They're going to find out I'm a fraud. I've never really done this. Well, but you have the skills and abilities. And if you're hired for that role, people see what you're capable of. And another way that I've seen this show up big time for women engineers, women in construction, fields I've been in, and other women in STEM is because you're afraid of failure. You set very specific goals and you have your tests outlined. You have all of this stuff. And sometimes your goals may be very extreme, or they could be very challenging. And then If you can't reach it, you failed. And it may be that you set an unachievable goal. You were unrealistic because you don't believe in your own skills enough that you set something so high, there was no way you're going to get there. And then you're just validating that, well, I couldn't get that goal, so I really am a failure. I'm really not good enough. I don't know about that. And I hate to see you doing that. So just a couple of quick thoughts. Imposter syndrome can really look like you can become overwhelming and you can really find yourself struggling. And if you are, you may need help. If you start sliding into depression and really severe anxiety, get help from a medical professional. There are ways to deal with that. But if you're just struggling on what do I do, somebody like myself, a coach, can help you get through that. Get help. We're going to talk about how to manage imposter syndrome and how to handle it next week in one of the sessions for my survival skills, survival strategies for women in STEM. And hopefully they will help you. Go check out my YouTube channel, caroldoherty.tube, and see what I've posted out there. I've got 2 videos out there now, and there will be a couple more coming next week. So check it out, and you can do this. You don't have to believe that you're a fraud, because you're not. You're fantastic, and you can do this. If you have any questions, if you're with me follow me on LinkedIn at Carol Doherty MBA, or reach out to me on Instagram at Carol S. Doherty. Message me. Let's talk. We can help you through this because you can do it. Have a great day, and I'll see you around.